you doing? I love it. Okay, so hello. Thank you for coming to this presentation today. I have a few announcements before I turn it over to Morgan. So first is that we have bought a new building, and we are working on expanding. We have a survey that we are asking for people to fill out for what you would like to see in the new branch, collection development, just a whole bunch of different stuff like that. There is a YouTube video that we ask that you watch first because it answers a lot of questions that you might have, and then the survey is here. So if you have any questions or you want a hard copy of the survey or anything like that, don't hesitate to ask us over at the front desk and we'll get you all squared away. Secondly, we are asking for donations for our summer reading program again this year. The theme is Unearth a Story, just like 2 Peaks, 1 Book. And we are asking for donations for our checkpoint incentive prizes. Again, you can scan QR code. If you have questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I have been waiting since last summer reading program ended to start this year, so we are very excited about it. And then lastly, I just wanted to highlight our program next week. It is Archaeology as a Multidisciplinary Approach. Mr. Dave Steffen will be here presenting on that with us, and we're very excited to have him back. So for now, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Morgan. Thank you so much for being here, and
of course,
you guys are in for a treat.
I hope so. Well, thank you guys so much for coming. I'm Morgan George. I work as a wildlife biologist, so just full disclosure, I'm not an archaeologist or a paleontologist, so I'm going to cover high-level overview of the dino to bird evolution, but I'm a bird biologist mostly, so I know more about modern birds. I do have some, you guys can come look after the presentation. I've got a couple of just bird skulls and then some informational pamphlets from Lathrop. And they let me borrow the owl skulls, so I'm very grateful for that. So yeah, today we're gonna, and I also have a bunch of bird-themed books, if you guys want to come take a look after the presentation. But yeah, so we're going to talk about the evolution of birds and kind of how they are related to dinosaurs. Okay, now I'm going to start that by talking about theropod dinosaurs. So these are the type of dinosaur that birds evolved from, and they still share a lot of similarities. Like when you come up and you got these skulls, they're replicas, but they're very light and they're hollow bones. And birds have hollow bones, and so does this group of dinosaurs. And they include some of the ones everybody knows, like T-Rexes and velociraptors are part of this group, which is pretty cool. Now they're just flying around, they're still kind of here in a way. So yeah, and also we were talking about this earlier. Our understanding of this evolutionary process is evolving literally all the time with new research and new fossil discoveries. So yeah, and this is a recent-ish kind of realization that dinosaurs and birds are more similar than we thought. Does this thing have a laser pointer?
It does. It's a little red line thing.
Oh, I see. Okay. Maybe. Let me show you. Sorry.
Okay.
Oh no, I see it. Okay, yes. Got it. Thank you. So yeah, the theropods were small carnivorous dinosaurs, mostly. So it's recent fossil discoveries from China, South America, as well as old museum specimens, which we'll look at a few of those pictures, that kind of help them draw this evolutionary tree. And over here, you can see these are some of the similarities. So hollow bones and the wishbone, which is kind of their breastbone, a bird's breastbone, started evolving pretty early on in dinosaurs. So let's see. So this is kind of where theropod starts. So here's the T-Rex, or here's the Tyrannosaurids. So this is when their feet started kind of to change a little bit. They start getting they start being feathered and less reptilian. So let's see. Oh, and the pubic bone was another big one that they share with birds for egg laying. So they have kind of a unique pubic bone. Let's see. And then here's living birds at the very bottom. So obviously they had reduction of the digits from up here all the way down to birds. And obviously this is a very long process, which I'm sure we're all aware of that. Oh yeah, and it has the time scale on here. So starting at 240 million years ago. So it's been a long time coming to get my favorite hobby of bird watching. So. Okay, this is a picture from Jurassic Park, because I think it's just like an iconic picture of the T-Rex. And it's funny, because Jurassic Park, so that was like the 90s. And then we weren't really thinking that dinosaurs were feathered. So, I mean, the representations of all these dinosaurs, they're all like very reptilian-like. And now when we see like drawings, more modern drawings of dinosaurs, a lot of them are feathered. And there's debate whether the T-Rex was feathered, and I think we'll get into that too. And there's kind of a lot of debate about, what they might have looked like. So theropod means beast-footed. So it describes this group of like like the Tyrannosaurus Rex, Velociraptors are like the two ones that I feel like everybody knows. So there's similarities to birds, and some birds do have, some dimorphism in their feet, but they both have hollow bones and 3 toes. Birds have changed. Like there are birds that have a different number, that have different. Their feet evolved to do different things, like woodpeckers that have 4 toes, so they can grip on trees and things like that. And like I said earlier, like our understanding of this is just evolving all the time. And like I also mentioned, I'm in the study of modern birds, so I can like do the high level kind of explanation of this evolution, but we'll move on to modern birds later too.
Morgan, does hollow bone mean that they don't have marrow in the bone?
I think they have it in the walls of the bone, but the bone density is just very
Has air
low.
in it.
Right,
Oh.
yeah, so that they're light. And for birds, it evolved for flight. And so yeah, and dinosaurs might have been even lighter than we thought. But yeah, so their bones are literally, which I wanted to have an actual bone of a bird that we could look at, because it's just really cool. It looks like normal bone, you pick it up and it's like nothing. And if you've ever picked up a bird, they are so light, and they feel like almost nothing in your hand. If you've ever banded birds, like they're so small and like delicate and light. Okay, so this is, a lot of people call this dinosaur the missing link. And this is a logo of a certain outdoor apparel that probably a lot of people are familiar with. So yeah, some people refer to this dinosaur as the missing link, and this is the Archaeopteryx. So they think it lived about 150 million years ago. There's only, I think, 10 or 12 of these specimens that we have, so they're rare. We don't have a lot of representations. This is a picture of one of them right here. Let's see if this works. Yeah. And this is an animation of what they might have looked like. So kind of look like a little velociraptor, but they're developing feathers. So the first one was found either in 1860 or 1861. I found like differing sources on that in Germany. And yeah, this was the first fossil. They were like, oh, and you can even kind of see, I'll have a better picture, I think, on the next slide. You can see, like, there are impressions of feathers. Like, this looks kind of like a normal-ish dinosaur bone, other than you're seeing the elongation of their, little digits here. And again, I feel like I have this in here a lot, but our understanding of this stuff changes all the time. So I feel like unless you are in this field, it's hard to stay up to date on like exactly what's happening. We're going to watch a short video of someone who actually studies the Archaeopteryx to get a little bit better like explanation than what I could probably give. So this is another debatable one. Some researchers, in researching this, I saw this, a lot of people were calling it like the first bird, and there's a lot of disagreement with that too. I read a book about this as a kid, so like in my mind, I was like, that's a bird. So I feel like in my adult head, I'm still like, no, it's a bird. But there's a lot of debate. So it's also kind of referred to as either like the first bird, or some people call it a feathered dinosaur. And there seems to be kind of a lot of debate in that community on like what exactly, if this is like truly the missing link, the first bird. Yeah, here's the bigger picture. So this is called the Berlin specimen. It was discovered a little bit later in the same, not like the exact same spot, but also in Germany. And this one you can definitely see the impressions of the feathers, which is crazy thinking that this thing is like, you know, could be 150 million years old. And we can see like this shape is pretty crazy. And the other thing about this one is it had the skull, and this is the skull right here. And like it looks much more like a modern bird. So yeah, it says the skull was bird-like, but they did still have reptilian teeth. And this is in a museum in Berlin, the Humboldt Museum. But yeah, pretty stunning specimen, this picture.
Did it have a beak?
Yeah, so you can kind of see even like right here, it's more beak-like than what you would picture from like a T-Rex that has like a big, you know, huge mouth and like very prominent teeth. So that's the other like kind of similarities. The skull was much more like a bird than some of the older dinosaur species. Okay, and here's this kind of skeletal evolution, and it highlights the similarities between these. So like I was saying, the furcula or the wishbone, this is the Archaeopteryx. So they have this wishbone, and for birds, they also have it. It's bigger in some birds because their like breast tissue will be like attached to it, and since they fly, they have like very like their muscling right there is pretty big. So some birds have like quite a big wishbone. This is a chicken, so like a bird that flies, but not really. So they don't really have a very big wishbone compared to at least some other birds. Let's see, the other similarity was the pubis bone. It faces backwards for egg laying, and that was similar in dinosaurs, even back to the theropod dinosaur, to the Archaeopteryx. Let's see. And then the teeth transition. So it kind of started from like, I'm not sure what species of theropod this is, but picture like, you know, a velociraptor. I don't think that's what this is, but that having like very sharp prominent teeth. The Archaeopteryx still had teeth, but they were reduced, and then you get down to a chicken and the teeth. Which I meant to bring eggs today. I have chickens. And I was like, man, I got a lot of eggs to get rid of right now. Okay, this is the video. We're actually going to watch it on the TV. So, is it okay if I put the TV like on a chair?
Absolutely.
Okay, I can do it. I just so that everybody can maybe see it a little better.
Yeah, just keep getting that message.
That's a little cord reach. Yeah. So yeah, I think this is like a 3-minute video. This is from a researcher at the American Museum of Natural History, just explaining like a little bit more about the Archaeopteryx. Which once we get to modern birds, I can explain better. And I was like, well, listen to a guy who actually, this is his research, or it's research that he's expanded on.
The Archaeopteryx, as old as 150 million years, has long been thought of as the first bird. Now, the American Museum of Natural History's Mark Norrell, along with a team of scientists, has unearthed new information about the winged animal.
The first Archaeopteryx specimen started to appear in the 1860s, shortly after the European species appeared. And immediately it was seized on by Thomas Huxley and Charles Darwin and others as a transitional form. Because here, in fact, was something which was clearly bird-like in the sense that it had modern sorts of feathers, it had wings, it had all those attributes, but it retained a lot of more primitive dinosaurian features like a long tail, like teeth, like claws on the front hands or on the hands. And so it was a dead intermediate between these two major groups of animals.
Norrell and partner Greg Erickson set out to discover just how deep the similarities between the Archaeopteryx and modern birds actually ran.
Well, if Archaeopteryx really is a bird, then it should have a bird-like physiology of very, very rapid growth. So the question that Greg Erickson and I wanted to answer was, well, did it grow that way, or did it grow like a non-avian dinosaur grows?
To answer that question, Narell's team was given a rare opportunity to dig further into one of 10 known Archaeopteryx specimens.
We were able to take minute pieces off of the Munich specimen, which is this specimen right here, and off of the bones. And now making thin sections of those bones and analyzing them, we were able to calculate how fast this animal grew.
After analyzing the fossil, Narell determined the Archaeopteryx was not the first bird, rather a feathered dinosaur, meaning the transition between dinosaurs and true birds happened much later.
We have a long way to go before we understand how, when this transition actually occurred. What we can say now is just as Archaeopteryx is a morphological intermediate in the sense that it has a long tail and teeth and feathers between traditional dinosaurs and birds, it's also a physiological intermediate as well because it's growing toward the fast end of traditional dinosaurs, but much slower than living dinosaurs, which are birds. So it is this perfect intermediate, and it's really becoming blurry now with what you call a bird and what you call a feathered dinosaur. One of the big questions now is that maybe there's more than one species of Archaeopteryx. Perhaps the Solnhofen and London specimens are a different species than the specimens in Eichstätt, Munich, and Traumatos.
And with these new findings, Narell still remains certain that birds are directly related to dinosaurs.
All the evidence, when I say all the evidence, points out that birds are intimately tied to dinosaurs. So much so, in fact, that just like humans are a kind of primate, birds are a kind of dinosaur. And our study just shows that even more because it shows that Archaeopteryx, yeah, it has attributes of the traditional dinosaurs. In fact, that it has a physiology which is very, very similar to Velociraptor, to some of the small dromaeosaurs from China, like Microraptor, Troodons, Isomorphosaurus. So basically Archaeopteryx, which most people look at as a bird, is just really a feathered dinosaur.
Well, you answered that question.
Yeah, well, yeah, he can explain it better than me because this is like his research. But yeah, but like he was saying, I mean, it's changing, I think, a lot, and it'll probably change again. But Morgan, you read that book when you were a kid. It was a good book too. Well, I was very dinosaur obsessive. I guess that's why I study birds now. Okay. Oh yeah, I just put the blank video up. Another kind of debated topic, but I thought we could touch on it, is like why dinosaurs evolved for flight eventually. So this is just a rendering of, I think it's a relative of the Velociraptor, so it's not a raptor, but it's similar, like they've got like, the feet, the three-clawed hand going on. But a drawing, I think I got this from Audubon Society. But it's just interesting to see like a dinosaur drawn this way rather than what we saw in I always keep bringing up Jurassic Park because that was like my special interest movie as a kid. So why they evolved feathers is still like a debatable issue. The thought is that maybe they first evolved feathers to maintain body temperature because the Earth was like getting colder. So they were, evolving new ways to be insulated, and feathers are great insulation. Like when you see little birds at your feet are like all puffed up, they're just like creating like an air barrier between them and like the cold to keep them warm. So feathers were probably first evolved for insulation, and then they were eventually co-opted into flight. Another theory is that the smaller theropods, because they started getting smaller and smaller, were having to move into the trees for protection from other larger dinosaurs, and to outcompete other larger animals for food. Yeah, I'm gonna put this in every slide, that this is an ever-changing, we're always discovering new things, and especially with the fossil record, it's we're discovering things that happened 150 million years ago, but we're discovering them now. So like there's debatable reasons why dinosaurs evolved feathers, but we have like sounds like a pretty good idea of it. And just that they probably served a lot of different functions. Feathers and different species that lived in different places used them for different reasons, needed them for different reasons. This picture, this is a modern bird, even though it looks very dinosaur-like to me. It's called a smooth-billed Ani. This one I think is from Puerto Rico, but I thought it was a cool picture, like a modern bird that is so like dinosaur-like their face is so like a dinosaur. I should have put a video of their call because it's very interesting too. But another similarity they share, modern birds and dinosaurs, is their respiration. So theropods and sauropods, which are like the big, like Brontosaurus, like really large dinosaurs, they had the same respiratory system as birds do today, which I'll show there. I have like a figure on the next slide because it's hard to kind of explain it, but basically birds have air sacs in their lungs that they like almost recirculate their breath twice. And this guy, this paleontologist, believed that this was due to the catastrophic extinctions more than 250 million years ago. So there's a lot less oxygen in the air, so they evolved to like be able to absorb more oxygen, and birds still do that today. Oh, and I just thought this was interesting. So it's the greatest, this extinction in the Permian period is the greatest disaster life has ever faced, probably caused by hydrogen sulfide poisoning. And oxygen at sea level was equivalent to the top of Mount Everest, which was like pretty crazy. So that could be, some people think that is why they evolved this respiratory system, just to deal with the climate that they were living in. And that kind of helped them to outcompete a lot of the other organisms that were in existence then. And birds obviously kind of came out on top. Here they are. Here's the figure. So this is a modern bird. This is showing the air sacs. So basically, their first breath just goes into their lungs, and then their second breath, they don't even breathe in another breath. It just goes into this air sac. And this is like different. I mean, this is obviously a very simple figure, so different species, this might look different. And then on the second breath, it leaves the body. So they just have a lot more surface area to be uptaking oxygen. And that's, a big thing. It makes sense to me due to this mass extinction event that dropped oxygen levels so low.
So they take one breath in, but it goes into spurts. One first to the first lung, and then that lung expresses it to the second lung.
To the air sac.
To the air sac,
Yeah.
and then they take more oxygen out there, and then they breathe out that air.
Yep, just to basically all the oxygen from that breath, they're getting it all
Yeah.
absorbed without having to take another breath, which is pretty amazing. And birds are like the only modern animal that does this. Okay, now we're transitioning into the cranes and modern birds. And a species that's near and dear to a lot of people's hearts in this area, and I hope everywhere, sandhill cranes. This picture is obviously at the sand dunes. This is from National Park Service website. And I don't know if anybody went, the Crane Festival was last weekend, and it's like their huge migration to the San Luis Valley. And I'll have the next slide will have their call. It's very, if you've heard them, it sounds prehistoric. It's very, very cool. So they're the oldest extant bird species that we know of that's still living on the planet. Oldest known fossil dating back 2.5 million years of the same species, which is like just crazy. That fossil was found in Florida. So sandhill cranes do a big migration through Colorado, and then they do a big Midwest migration, and they're also in Florida. So this one was found in Florida, this 2.5 million year old fossil. Okay, good, I put this in here. Yeah, so an even older fossil that they're not sure what species it came from, but they think a crown crane, which is like a direct ancestor of the sandhills. And they found a fossil that's 10 million years old. And this one was found in Nebraska. The Platte River is one of the, I think it's the largest stopover in the US. And that's in Nebraska. And that's on, so that's why they think it could be a sandhill, because it's on their big migratory route, but it's 10 million years old, which is just crazy. And then here in Colorado, we have about 20,000 sandhill cranes that migrate through, and they come through twice. And I'll talk about that too. So they come through, I think the next slide says when. Obviously they come through in March, and then they come through again, I believe, in September. But we don't have the festival, so I feel like not as many people see that. And then I got this quote from Aldo Leopold, which is, I thought, such a cool quote. It says, "When we hear his call, we hear no mere bird, we hear the trumpet and the orchestra of evolution." And I thought that really tied in well to this, because they are such an old species. And I haven't read this, but I want to now. I love the title of this essay, Marshland Elegy. So yeah, we're really lucky to have these guys, or to live in a place that they stop through. Okay, this is from last year. This is a video I took on my phone. I had to crop this video because like half the video I'm going, oh my gosh, wow, wow. So hopefully we don't hear my voice too much. All right, am I good to?
Yeah.
And this is stuff. Yeah, so this was last year. This wasn't the full flock, but obviously it's so many birds, and you get like a weird you feel like you're in the prehistoric times when you hear and see these birds. They're so dinosaur-like. They look dinosaur-like to me. So yeah, that's an interesting. If you haven't been to the San Luis Valley during the migration, really suggest going. It's just crazy. Monte Vista Wildlife Refuge is, okay, here we go. So yeah, where to see them. This is the graphic from this year, which I really liked. Their poster looked like this year. Which the festival was last weekend, but the sandhills are still there. So the festival's over, but you can still see the birds. Okay, yeah, so they migrate to the San Luis Valley February to March, and on this migration, they're heading up to their northern breeding grounds in the northern US and Canada, and they come back September to November, and they're headed to southern New Mexico. One of my friends lives in Albuquerque, and she's like, sometimes I actually get tired of hearing these birds because they're everywhere. So I was like, I don't get it. I wish one lived in my backyard, but whatever. She's not a birder. So yeah, the best spot to see them is Monte Vista National Wildlife Refuge. But you can see them like all over the valley and like farm fields, like they're, and we'll talk about eBird, which is a good way to see where species are being seen. We'll talk about that in a few slides. You can always look at eBird occurrences to see kind of where they're at. Yeah, and the festival's interesting. So they have a craft festival, but they also have a lot of scientific talks. So the people actually doing the research on these birds give a lot of really interesting talks. It's just a good opportunity, and they give tours so you can see the birds. You can also just drive out there. The tours are cool too. And I feel like this is the thing we hear about a lot in this area, but I thought I'd bring it up. It's pretty related to sandhill crane migration. Dark skies. This is a picture at Kuchara Mountain Park. And I'm sure you guys all live here, like, we have some of the most stunning dark skies I've ever seen. It's just gorgeous. And dark skies are super, super important for bird migration because they can get disoriented by bright lights left on all night. Which now when I look at this picture, I'm like, what's going on here? Like, this is an example of what not to do, I guess. but it's still a very gorgeous picture. So yeah, birds use stars for their migration at night, and that's how they know where they're going. Because like this sandhill migration, like I said, has been going on for perhaps 10 million years, could be so long. So the stars have been a constant throughout that time. So that's what they use. So bright lights left on all night can really disorient them. Let's see, okay, yeah, 300 million. So this is from National Parks Service too. They think about 300 million birds die every year from like bright light related incidents. So they'll either die of fatigue because they'll get confused, they'll run in buildings, which is a whole other issue. Like windows are a big problem for migrating birds because now we have these huge tall buildings that go up in the sky and birds hit them, and it's sad, but light can just confuse them. So they can crash into things and then they'll just fly in circles until they're like, because they will lose their sense of navigation and they'll just get fatigued. Because these migrations are so long, and that's another reason these stopovers like Monte Vista are so important, because these birds are going a long way and they need energy to do that. So this is just a simple way we can help migrating birds, and especially sandhills that a lot of people here are very fond of. Just being mindful about your lights at night, and consider, having lights that point down, or just flat out like turning them off at night, or having a motion sensor. It's just a super easy way to help migrating birds, not just sandhills, but a bunch of them migrate at night. Okay, and this is where I was going to talk to you guys about some ways that you can get out and bird, because we have so many cool endemic species in this area. So I love birding here. So I'll show you guys, I'll pull up QR codes for these apps. So these are like smartphone apps you can use if you're new to birding. They can really help you. They're not like always accurate, like they'll help you identify birds, but they're a great way to learn if you haven't really birded much. Let's see. So this is Merlin Bird ID. This can help you, like it has a sound recorder, it can identify bird calls, which is really cool. It's not always like 100% accurate, but it's pretty good, like especially for just if you're birding as a hobby. And then eBird can record your sightings. So this is like a citizen science app. So you can record your sightings in eBird, and it reports them to this Cornell Lab of Ornithology, which is one of the like very big, prominent bird study labs. It's in Ithaca, New York. And both of these apps are from the Cornell Lab of Ornithology. So they're very research-based, and like people are working on them and improving them all the time.
And free.
And they're free, yes. Yes. So we can come back to this too, but this is the QR codes to download them. So if you have a smartphone, you would just like pull up the camera and scan it. And I can come back to these, but if anyone wants to scan it, please do. You can also just look them up in your app store. But they're really good ways to like kind of introduce you to birding. And so we're lucky to live in a place where we have a lot of places to go birding. I can come back to this later. I don't think I can I click links on this?
You should be able to.
Okay.
We'll see.
I was going to show you guys, so eBird also has a website you can go to look up species occurrences, or if you want to see sandhill cranes, you can go to eBird and like search sandhill cranes, and they're like, oh, someone saw one 2 days ago at Monte Vista, or whatever, before you drive, an hour to go look at them at Monte Vista. So best place around here for birding, especially if you like ducks, is Lathrop. They have so many ducks, it's crazy. It's like, the screen's not changing. Do you know? It's not a big deal if it won't.
I'm not sure then.
Because we can still just talk about the spots either way, but.
We might need to actually close the presentation. Yeah. Okay.
I was just going to show you guys like the web, like desktop computer interface for eBird, because it's just a really cool resource. But if not, we can just
I don't know when it's actually there. This says
technology.
go back to it. No, go back. In the new building, we're gonna have a whole new projection system. Yeah, I think I'm just making it more angry. The cursor keeps going away. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, you're fine.
Let's get back to, we can get back to the presentation.
This thing about feathers is so interesting.
If you have a smartphone, you can pull up the site though.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah, I was just going to go over some of the areas. So the links are to eBird, and you can even go on eBird and explore birding spots where we're at, and it'll tell you if someone has like reported birds in that spot, it'll tell you like what species are there. So Lathrop State Park is like the best, especially if you like waterfowl, especially right now because ducks are migrating through and there's a bunch of weird, in the birding community we call it weird duck season because there's just like a bunch of crazy weird stuff you wouldn't normally see. The reservoirs just in Levita are good too. Lathrop definitely has more, like I would say waterfowl, they're just a bigger lake. But this is a good spot to see some of the species that live in like the low altitude, like oak forest kind of spots, if you go to like the wooded sides. Also, I saw there's like a path just around the town of Levita on eBird that someone is reporting bird occurrences, and they've got some cool birds on there, and it's about to be kind of spring migration, so we're about to see a bunch of new and interesting looking migrants. Spring Creek is a place I like to go bird to see some of the alpine species. West Peak too. North Lake is a bit of a drive, but it's a good one too. Trinidad Lake, if any place is better to see waterfowl than Lathrop, it's Trinidad Lake. They've got some crazy stuff too. And then Fisher's Peak as well. They have a bunch of like specialist species that are interesting that you wouldn't really see other places. And then I was just going to quickly go through some of the common bird species if you have feeders or whatever that you'll see. And I'll click through these kind of fast. I've got a few on there. So this one, everybody probably knows this guy. The magpie. I feel like they get a lot of hate because they're really smart and they like, people are like, they're stealing from my feeders. And I'm like, it's a bird feeder. They're like stealing from it. They're a bird, in fact. But yeah, they're in the same family as ravens and crows, the corvid family, and they're a very interesting bird. This little guy, these are all of my feeders, dark-eyed junco. These are cool too because they have a lot of like phenotypic plasticity, so they can look very different and be the same species. This is one that kind of stays all winter, so you probably see these guys a lot. The mountain chickadee, which is another one of my favorites. I live in Navajo, so we don't get these. But whenever I go to West Peak and stuff, I'll see them, and they're so cute. And kind of friendly. They like want to like come up and see what you're doing. This is one that's about to come through. This is a western tanager. This is a male, so they're like very colorful. The females are a little bit more drab, but they still look like this. And usually if you see a female, you'll see a male. This is one of my favorite like migrants to Colorado. And they come to feeders. They come to my feeder. The mountain bluebird is another good one. Very like easily identifiable bird. And then another one that's near and dear to my heart. The Woodhouse's scrub jay. I kind of have my little like montage of little bluebirds, but these guys, this is another one of my neighbors were like, they steal from my feeder. I'm like, they're a bird. It's a bird feeder. They're not stealing. But but they love peanuts. So I give them peanuts, and then they kind of leave your birdseed alone. Because they're really smart, and they will pick through your birdseed. They like sunflower seeds, and they'll pick out all the like millet and stuff, and just throw it on the ground until they get sunflower seed.
Are these a type that's more adapted to like pinion nets and that sort of thing? So
Yes. Yeah, and this is one of the specialist species I'm talking about that like people get annoyed by these, but I'm like, we're actually really lucky to just like walk out and see a scrub jay. They are not a bird that really, I mean, there are scrub jay populations in certain areas, but they're so specialized. And this one's actually a bird of conservation concern, so it's not endangered or threatened, but it's like on the downtrend. So when people are like, they steal from me, I'm like, you're literally like feeding an almost like endangered species, so like you should be happy. And this is another very cool one. This is the pinion jay, similar species. We don't see them as often, but they're another like pinion juniper adapted species. They're similar, but these guys have these ones are bigger, longer tail, and they kind of look angry, like they have this little eyebrow going on. And they're usually, I think, a lot more blue. It depends on the time of year. And like right now, they're very blue because it's breeding season.
Those pinion jays seem to be on the decline in numbers. I don't know, what we live up in the hills, and they're mainly out on the plains, or the interface between the hills and the plains. But they're 15 or 20 years ago, there used to be large flocks of pinion jays. I haven't seen a large flock of pinion jays in years.
Yeah. So me and Ash actually just went to CPW, just did a training on surveys for these. And Fish and Wildlife is considering listing this species because they've declined a lot. Because they're another one that's so specialized to like just pinion juniper forests. So their overall population is declining. So there are less of them. And that's probably why
So Lila's pinion seeds.
they what?
Don't eat pinions then.
Well, we asked about that at the training, or someone asked about it, if that's like a competition.
Yeah.
And they said it's hard to say. They're like, people probably aren't harvesting enough pinion to, it's more like, it's not really food source threats as much as like habitat threats. And the main threat to them was actually ravens. They eat the ice in their nests. And ravens are like attracted to urban areas, so like people kind of bring more ravens to an area, because like they eat our trash and they unfortunately eat from bird feeders. They won't eat from my bird feeders, which I guess is good. Which they're cool too. But yeah, that's what they said was their biggest. They said 83% of nests that get destroyed by ravens. And ravens themselves, obviously, they're a natural predator, but there are more of them because there are people in all these areas, and they're eating our trash.
Well, you're out in Navajo, right?
Yeah.
Do you see these birds?
Sometimes we have so many of the Woodhouse's scrub jays. I think they're kind of like, they don't live right where we do because those birds already live there. But every once in a while, like a gang of these will come to our feeder, and it'll be like 50 of them. They will like wipe us out, and they're really loud. They'll come to your feeder, but yeah, we don't see many, but I'm sure historically there were a lot more. Because like all of Navajo is just a big juniper pinion meadow. This is another good one, the spotted towhee, another like one you'll see at your feeder. Also towhee, the canyon towhee. This is another one that I feel like is pretty unique to like more deserty areas. Not as like cute as the other towhee. It's still cute.
I like him.
I know, he's a little chunky guy.
Yeah, he kind of looks like he's a little disheveled.
Yeah, they do look disheveled. And they have, it's not like, you can kind of see it in this picture. They have this little mohawk.
Yeah.
And they'll hop around and like flip up their little mohawk, and they're really cute, a little chunky. We have like a mating pair that nests like in a tree right off of our porch, so I really like these guys. They're harder to see. Northern flicker, this is another common one that's very identifiable, a woodpecker that we have. If you hear a bird like screeching incessantly and it sounds like not a hawk or something, it's probably this. They're really loud. Steller's jay, which are more higher altitude species, but also another really cool corvid species we have here. And the Canada jay. People call these campsite robbers.
Yes.
They're cool. Apparently they'll like steal your car keys and stuff.
They're also very friendly, or like they
Yeah.
always want to know what you're doing.
They're very, yes, inquisitive, yeah. And they're so cute. Like, look at him.
Yeah.
That's so cute. The first time I saw one, I was like, I think that's one of the cuter birds. I know what you're saying. I am gonna say that on every slide. I'm like, now this one's cute.
Maybe it was.
And then another really beloved species here, hummingbirds. So we have 4 main species. Broad-tailed are like one of the more common. This one's a male, this one's a female. They have this like throat patch. So we don't have ruby-throated, so if you see this, or we might have like a rare migrant, but they're not like a typical one here. This is broad-tailed. It is hard to tell with the females or immature males, a lot of them look alike. Yeah, so the other, this kind of second, or like the other more common one is the black-chinned hummingbird. These guys are also vicious, like they're all vicious. I put on hummingbird feeders and I was like, my gosh, they're so mean to each other. And we have like 4 hummingbird feeders, so I'm like, you don't really have to do that, but whatever. These guys, I've never seen one of these, but they're one we have too, the rufous hummingbird.
They're obnoxious too.
Are they?
They're aggressive.
Okay, so maybe these guys are the problem. Maybe they're the ones who are
They
coming.
started.
Yeah, maybe well, they're not loud, but if you sit out on the porch, I can hear them. Like it's like a mini world, and they're just like fighting each other.
I have to hang up hummingbird feeders and scatter them 50 yards apart,
Yeah.
just so the other hummingbirds can get some juice, because the rufuses are dominating the whole scene.
Dang. Maybe that's what's happening at my feeders, because like there'll be one hummingbird, and there's like 30 of them buzzing around, and like one of them will be running all the other ones away. And I'm like, you little jerk. And then the calliope, I'm not sure how to pronounce. Calliope. I've never seen one of these either, but this is the kind of the other, one of the less common species we have, but I guess they're around. These ones are more rare, but they're super cute too. But all of the females kind of look similar. So, but they're usually with the male, so you can usually kind of identify them that way. I was also gonna another like tip if you're wanting to feed them. So they come through Colorado starting in April and they leave like August, September. Never use dye. And I'm sure like you guys all sound like you know about birds and stuff, so these are probably things you already know, but never add dye to your feeders or buy the like red hummingbird feed from the store that's like, because it just dyes. It can be harmful. And if you want to do the feeders, which here it's good because like we don't have a whole lot of pollinating plants here, so feeders for them as like a stopover are good to regain some energy. But you have to stay on top of them. Make sure they're not getting moldy or like, you know, yucky because you can accidentally be harmful. This is the Audubon Society's food recipe, so it's literally just like water and sugar, and that's it. So this is a good one. Yeah, 1-to-4 ratio, pretty much. So yeah, they just definitely don't use food coloring. That's a big no-no. And make sure, because this calls for boiling water, make sure you let that cool before you put it out there, because the moment you put it out there, they're like on it. And they're so tiny, like you don't want them, you know, consuming hot water. So feeding them is great, but always be like mindful about like what you're giving them and that you're giving them clean food, or just like skip it. Like if you don't want to clean it, just don't feed them. This is a guide I use a ton, because another way to help them is just planting native pollinating species. So this is a publication by Colorado Native Plant Society. This is like the link to that, and our area is southeastern Colorado. Like half of Huerfano County is in this region, and the other half is in another region, according to Native Plant Society. Levita and Walsenburg and Kuchara are in this one. So this is like a great guide. It gives you like planting plans, it tells you when the species bloom, it's awesome. And they have them for all over Colorado, but this is a really good resource. I would really like to get the hard copy of it, but I don't know how to do that. Okay, that's it. Yeah.
Do you see any meadowlarks?
I don't see as many because we're up in Navajo, but every time I drive through Levita, I see them on like every other fence post, I feel like. Have you notice like a decline?
Yeah, I have one in the backyard.
Oh, nice.
Does the song protect his area, or
Yeah.
it does?
Yeah, they are pretty, like most birds are pretty territorial, and their song kind of keeps other male birds. It attracts female birds, but it also like lets other male birds know, like, I'm here, so like, don't mess with me. But yeah, we don't see as many meadowlarks. I really like them. They're another cute little kind of chunky bird. Any other questions about, I can definitely answer bird questions, dinosaur stuff. We'll see. We don't have, oh, and then also I brought just some kind of bird themed books if you guys want to have a look at them. This is a really good field guide. Like if you, eBird or Merlin Bird ID is a great field guide too on your phone. But this is a good one. It's like, I really like it. It's sectioned by colors. So like the little side tabs will have like what the primary color of the bird was. So if you're in the field, you can just quickly be like, hey, this bird is blue. Let me like real quick flip through the blue section and see if you see it. This is a really cool book about birds that have gone extinct. And then this is Serviceberry. If you guys haven't read it, read it. It's very short, really good book.
That was our most checked out nonfiction of 2025.
Nice. It's a great book. And living in a small community, I feel like we all read it. In YouTube. It really resonates more with like living in a small community because it's about like community mindset. It's not necessarily about birds. The serviceberry is just a tree that serves a lot of species, or provides food for a lot of species. And then this is really beat up, but if you're into like the cover, just like ripped off of this, but I brought it anyway. It's a very cool like regional naturalist book for our region. It has like a whole big chapter on Spanish trees, and you guys are welcome to like come up with one.
What is that one called?
This one's called The Naturalist Guide to the Southern Rockies. It's a really good book, like definitely would suggest. It has like, it's like a lot of scientific type text, but also it has just kind of like anecdotal stories about our area and other areas in southern Colorado. It's really neat. This is a book of poetry that's just like about a lot of different animals, but also a really big book. You guys are welcome to come with these, and if you want to look at the skulls, I've got up here too. And then these pamphlets, this is like a birding guide for Lathrop State Park. It's like a checklist, and you're welcome to take these. And then this is a pamphlet for also a thing from Cornell Lab of Ornithology, nest monitoring, if you want to get into that. They have QR codes and how you can participate in that. And then I'll bring back up that, did anyone need to scan this one before I move on? If you just like open the if you have a smartphone, open the camera, and you're welcome to come up here and scan it if your phone can't recognize it.
I just live like a block away,
Yeah.
and if I go anywhere and buy bird seed, there's all these different types of bird seed, right?
Yeah.
But I buy some of them, and the bird would rather not eat
Yeah.
than eat the bird seed. And yet, sunflower seeds, they just love it.
Yes. Sunflower seeds are a lot higher in fat content. So like they're very oily and they have a lot more caloric value than like the little bitty. So I get the mix because some of the finches like the little tiny like millet seeds. So I get the mix that has like sunflower seeds in it, but not all sunflower seeds. But yeah, I've noticed, and I've also heard, because I've had that happen too, I've heard that sometimes like you can literally get a bag of seed that's just kind of like not as good. So I've had that happen where I was like, hey, they're not eating the seed. And I just had to go buy a new bag, and then they do the same stuff. So yeah, it's interesting to see what they want and don't want. So yeah, I'll go back to that. I'll just keep up the slide with the Bird ID apps if anybody wants to download those, because they're really useful if you're trying to get into birding.
I really like that Merlin sound ID.
Yes.
That is so precise. I mean,
Yeah. It's so
human
cool.
noise is just not, it doesn't pay any attention to human noise. It just goes for the birds and it'll identify 5, 6, 7, that's really cool.
Yeah, it's amazing. I will like, if I like sit out on my porch and drink coffee, I'll just like have that going.
Yeah.
That's why it'll come up with like a 10 species list, just sitting out there for an hour. And it gives you a good idea, even if you don't see the bird, you're like, okay, well this is what's here. And you can look at the pictures and then
Yeah.
identify it later.
Morgan, do you know the Lewis woodpecker?
I don't think I've seen one. Are they the ones with that are kind of
We need to get a
purpley?
picture and include it with those birds, because this is the
Okay.
most gorgeous bird out here.
That's really interesting, because we live up on the Bird Scar, and they've come back. I'd never seen one before the Spring Creek fire, and now they've actually become residents up there. They're up there, and they love the burned out cottonwoods, and they're, instead of searching for bugs underneath the bark, they stay up in the tree, and then they'll fly out and grab flying insects. And so they have a very interesting, very different non-woodpecker behavior, I think. So they're, yeah.
What are they called?
Lewis woodpecker.
Do they have purple on them? Are they almost purpley?
They're kind of iridescent and dark. Yeah.
Okay, I think I have seen one.
There-
Because, yeah, it was.
Some years they're very rare. You might live up in the Watauga Valley,
Okay.
and you might see one or two. But one winter, 12 of them wintered over in those dead cottonwoods about 5 miles south of town.
That's cool. It's
And
interesting they
I-
do it at both places.
I got a notice from the birding ornithology from Denver Ornithology Group that they were concerned about the Lewis woodpecker that was going extinct. And I took a trip over to the Pishica River from Aguilar and drove west.
Yeah.
And there are dead cottonwoods that have cavities for nesting all along. The farther you go west, the better it is.
Yeah.
And I counted 24 Lewis woodpeckers in 2 hours.
Do you use eBird?
I didn't use that, I just used my binoculars.
Okay. So eBird is the one that you can actually report sightings.
Oh,
And for stuff like that, it can be really useful because that data gets back to the Cornell Lab of Ornithology. So that's why it is good if you're a big birder to use that. It's a great way for this lab to get data and from people just because it's like probably a researcher isn't going to go to that specific area like people who bird will.
Right.
So it's a great citizen science.
well, we're doing the weekend bird count, whatever they call it. and
Yeah.
They sponsor it every year. and-
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I actually haven't done the one like the Christmas bird count in Rita, but I should. But yeah, eBird is a great place if you're a birder, and especially if you're seeing like cool species like that to report them, so that someone's aware of. They can use it to track the populations and stuff. So yeah, I think I saw Lewis's woodpecker because I work from home, and so I don't have any coworkers other than my husband works from home too. So if there's ever a new bird at the feeder, I'm like, big news. Big news today, we've got a new guy.
Some of the ranchers refer to the Lewis woodpecker as the crow woodpecker because it's black and broad wings, and when it flies, it flaps at the same wing pace and straight course that a crow would do. And so, but the colors don't really show until you get the sunlight on and you get the binoculars on up close.
Yeah.
And they have this magenta face, and they have a gray collar, and they have a peak, it's a real brilliant peak, chest and under coverts, and then they have that black in the back and wings, and it becomes iridescent in the sunlight, so you just see all kinds of colors.
Yeah, that's super cool. I definitely now I want to look for one. I think I've seen one, but that's it.
Excuse me, it goes back to like the beginning of your presentation. The movie Jurassic, because you have some videos from the movie Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
You got a lot of criticism for being, totally fantasy.
Yeah.
But what you were saying was, what the scientist in Jurassic Park, his idea of the dinosaurs moving like birds, that would have actually, according to one theory, would have been correct.
Yeah, they kind of just hadn't really figured that. I think people were thinking it, but it hadn't really been proven yet. But yeah, they kind of were had the right idea a little bit.
Yeah,
Some parts of Jurassic Park.
The dinosaurs flock together and move together just
Yeah.
like birds.
Well, because I feel like in that movie, that was one of their big things. That they're like, these aren't just reptiles that don't take care of their babies and all that stuff. So they're like birds and they do all these things. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, thank you all so much for coming. I appreciate it. Feel free to come and look at these books if you want to. There's some good ones up here. And then if you want to take like a pamphlet. And then I brought these just for decoration.
It's not about amazing.
You know,